Yo, welcome everybody. Welcome in to Swish for Real. It's your boy Big Mike in the building. Our buddy Boogey Bob is resting, getting his strength up. You know, he got to take care of himself health-wise. But we got our other co-host who's always jumping in and having a great time with us. Wild Dog, what's up with you?
Hey, hey, happy to be here, brother. Happy to be here. We got it. We got it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bob, get well, man. This episode particularly is for you, man. We're gonna try to lock it down and give y'all some good information. So, how was your week so far, man? Everything good on your side of the planet?
It's been good. Some good news, some not so good news, but just continue to work on my wellness and of course, to spend good, enjoying spending time with my son, and just always give myself something to look forward to. So, I always look forward to coming here and with my speech therapy and us talking basketball, baby.
Thanks. I see that you had a good time hanging out with Big Rob with his 1,000 Mavs tribute,
Man, can
1,000
you
games.
imagine? Yeah, it was like this. Look, out of the blue, I got a text message saying, "You want to come to the game?" And I was like, "Of course." You know, even though I was like out of it, and all comfortable and trying to rest, I was like, "Well, of course." I always answer yes. Don't ever say no. Work it out. And I got there, and I was like, I went to go see the guys, and before I go to my seat, and I was like, and the son just told me, I was like, "Hey, Big Rob, am I good?" He goes, "No, you're good." So I hang out with the guys on their stage in their section, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad I did, because I had no idea,
Who put that together?
Oh man, just Maniac veterans and Mavs marketing, because
Oh man.
over the years, there were different people, but some people have come and gone who kept track. And it wasn't just how many home games or how many games you attend, like how often you work, and like games and appearances, all that's like kept a record of, and they usually for review at the end of the year. But with Big Rob, we noticed early on in the early years that Big Rob, you haven't missed a game, dog. No, I sure haven't, man. I love the Mavs. I love basketball. I love being with my brothers. And then another year, it's like, wait a minute, it's like, man, we need someone to keep track of this. Like
Right.
for real, like officially keep track of it. But when that something happens, you always had to have confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, there's always been at least two or more people keeping track and confirming, his home games and everything. So regardless of like Cowboy games, because we're also the Dallas Cowboys, regardless of church, just life, deaths, family, travel. I'm just like, even through COVID, even through virtual games, right? When there was nobody, present, through, the process of, the bubble and everything. Big Rob, over 1,000 consecutive home games. Give people their flowers while they're still alive and doing well and can enjoy them. And he deserves every bit of it. And when Big Rob, the team captain of the Maniacs, is honored, it honors all of us, past, present, and really future. Anybody new that comes into it, all those accolades are you're associated with the team. So we're thankful for him. We're thankful
Out, Big Rob.
that he was honored and that he's still going strong, brother. It's 2020, the 23rd full season. This would be the year 23 full years coming into the playoffs would be 23 full years.
Nice.
Yes.
Congrats, Big Rob. If you see this episode, man, Swish for Real, wish you the best of luck, man. 1,000 more games, man. Salute to you, brother. I ain't met you in person yet, but hopefully we'll get to meet. We'll chop it up, man, and I'll buy you a burger at my favorite place to eat burgers at, and that's Blues Burgers, even though I'm vegetarian, but hey, they got some good burgers there. And speaking of giving flowers, man, Minnesota Timberwolves is one of those teams, those franchises that has some great players coming in and out. And, there's a whole slew of them, top 10s and top 5, top 100s. We're going to talk about the legacy of players at this particular team venue, not venue, but at this particular team, man. What are your thoughts on some of the great players that came through Minnesota?
I'm so glad you're keeping it clean for me. when I saw Minnesota Timberwolves, I was like, the only thing I got anything good to say is about player development. So thank you. So of course, right off the bat, I think Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm thinking player development. Even with all their high picks that they've had in the past, I'm like, they've done very well in being able to identify talent and even helping develop talent in their early years. But of course, as we know in general, if you want to, get over the hump, if you want to do something, better or different, you end up having to leave, So of course, let me kick off, I'll leave some meat on the bone, but I got the ticket, the KG, I got it, my man, my dog, Kevin Garnett. You know what I'm saying?
KG.
So, Timberwolves did anything. It was in 2004. Kevin Garnett wins MVP, and they win the division. That is the highlight. That is the highlight. And so of course, another favorite player of mine from Minnesota, and I know he's got a lot of drama coming on, and we're going to talk more about him in a little bit, but Jimmy Buckets.
Jimmy Buckets, yep.
Hey, he's been to the finals. That's a lot of winning just to lose. You know what I'm saying? People be killing me. Well, he lost. But how did he get there? Well, you had to win to get there. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? Trying to carry the heat, carrying the heat literally on his shoulders, much with mad respect. And if it hadn't been, and in my opinion, he really should have been, one of those instances where he should have been like considered, not necessarily winning it, but in those rare circumstances where he would be considered for the Finals MVP because of his performance. Because without Jimmy Buckets, they don't get there. Without Jimmy Buckets, there's no show at all. So,
thanks.
Yes, sir. And then of course, if you can remember, one of my favorites. And I keep forgetting the Chinese word, but he's given the highest honor, like a Chinese elder, for his work overseas.
I already know who you're talking about.
Stephon Marbury. And I wore his shoes. I loved his game. And when he's with the Minnesota Timberwolves, he was first team All-Rookie in 1997. So again, we don't just talk and just say things. You know what I'm saying? When we say, okay, Minnesota Timberwolves, the players, player development, we back it up. So, Stephon Marbury, 1997, first team All-Rookie, baby. First team All-Rookie. And then, of course, I don't know if I'm going to leave. I might leave. I leave that for you. And I'm going to go over to someone I felt is still underrated, And I loved his interview on Club Shay Shay, which really was able to document, like a lot of guys, their time with the Timberwolves before they have to move on or get moved on or whatever. Karl Anthony Towns, Cat, I'm gonna give you your flowers. 2016, first team All-Rookie for the Timberwolves. Hey, they know how to spot talent. They know how to develop talent. But to get over the hump, sometimes you have to leave or be traded. It is what it is when we're talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I left some meat on the bones, Mike. Where you
there?
Yes, sir, I'm here. I had a little bit of a glitch. I don't know.
Yeah, I seen that. So yeah, you did leave a little meat on the bone for me. I'm about to grub now. So, as we all know, Minnesota was founded and they got into the league in 1989. And that's the time where Jordan and Chicago Bulls was like at the prominence. And you have all these Western teams like the Lakers. You had the Lakers, Utah. Who else in the West was pretty dominant? Phoenix at the times was pretty dominant back then. So they and
Trailblazers.
Houston and Trailblazers, and I can't even forget about freaking Golden State Warriors was pretty good back then.
Yes.
So the West has always been a tough road to go through, even though the East had that one great team for Chicago being that one, but they had a lot of great players that come out of Minnesota. Particularly, a lot of people when they think of the franchise when it started in 1989, the first person that come to mind for most people would be Sam Mitchell as the center position. He played very good for them for a while. And then another notable name, Wally Zerbiak. People don't talk about him a lot because he was
Wally.
actually a pretty serviceable guy too. And
I
then you
love
move
to hate him. And
and then you move
he was first team all rookie in 2000.
right. And then you move up a little bit more. You got your guard position. You had Stephon Marbury, you had Terrell Brandon. These two guys hooped like they had no reason to not be on the floor. And then you can't forget one of the best dunkers they had on that squad was Isaiah Ryder. Isaiah Ryder was like the highlight for a lot of games. And now, if you fast forward to now, the franchise has another great dunker, and that's Anthony Edwards. And he's been hooping like it's been like something he's born to do. You know, Anthony Edwards is a hooper, and I like what he did, even though Andrew Wiggins was hooping a little bit for him, and then he got traded to Golden State, which he finally won a championship. But if it wasn't for them drafting Anthony Edwards, Minnesota probably wouldn't be as good of a team as they are now. But the legacy for me, if you had to pinpoint the sum it up in one person, it would be Kevin Garnett, because Kevin Garnett really put that city on the map. And the big ticket is what they used to call him. He brought so much energy, pizzazz, and ferocity when it comes to how he played to Minnesota that made that squad that during that time one of the most feared squads to play against. So that would be my legacy as far if you had to sum it up in one person, it would be Kevin Garnett. And I believe if Anthony Edwards keep on the same track that he's on right now, he will be in that same mention as if when you think of Minnesota, this person come to mind first. But when he get there, then yeah. But right now, in the current time, yeah, he's in the forefront of the minds. But if you look at and you talk to historians, the first person that comes to mind will be Kevin Garnett. But he's the legacy for me when it comes to Minnesota.
Yeah. And if I give an honorable mention to Kevin Love,
who
was second team all rookie in 2009.
Yeah.
And personally, you know, because I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, right? Big University of Louisville Cardinals fan. If I can get a shout out to Felton Spencer, 1991 second, all rookie second team. Yes, sir.
No, thanks. And I enjoy watching a lot of those Minnesota games back in the day, especially when they had Sprewell. But they was Sam Cassell too. Yeah, they had some ballers, man. And if Bob was there, he'd be like telling you everything about he enjoyed about both those players and that squad in general. But yeah that's what we got. My take on Minnesota, man. I really enjoyed watching them as a youth. When I was young, I would watch a lot of their games, and to see the big ticket become who he became, and man, it's amazing. So
and I know we're going to talk a little bit of college later, but college fans are going to probably light me up. I know they're going to light me up because I talk college football and basketball too. But without heaving, Christian Laettner, 1993. Okay,
Duke. Duke. Yeah, Duke. We don't talk about too many Dookies on this channel.
Duke puke, but I know the backlash will be coming. Okay, Duke puke, Christian Laettner, 1993 Olympic gold, blah 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 blah. Yeah.
Go on. Pronounce the word. Facts. Man, so the West has been up and down currently as far as the standings, man. And we've been keeping an eye on the Mavs, and they just been kind of going back and forth. But looking at the West right now, they have the Thunder is number 1, Houston is number 2, the Grizzlies number 3. And I'm talking about the top. Well, we're gonna go out the top 7 because the Mavs is number 7. So number 1 Thunder, Houston 2, Grizzlies 3, Nuggets 4, Clippers 5, Lakers 6, and our Mavs are at 7. They dropped out of the top 6. And when you drop out of the top 6, you're in the play-in at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at the number 1 team, the Thunder, and they've been like, they got their revenge on Cleveland the other day. I think they beat Cleveland by 20, and it was like not even a close game. Looking at that first, the number 1 spot for the Thunder, what are your thoughts on the whole Western Conference now and how the Thunder, will they hold on to that number 1 spot? Or what are your thoughts about any teams moving up and down in this particular conference?
I mean, you spoke about what they did to the Cavaliers. and in my opinion, at this point, I don't even really think it was even about the Cavaliers, right? Or that they did anything wrong or that they were off. It's just that the Thunder rolls, right? Though, country song, Garth Brooks, the Thunder rolls, baby, and they are rolling. They're on a 4-win game streak, and it is what it is. Team is rolling, healthy enough, and they're rolling. They're vibing. They got chemistry. They come into another year, with high expectations, and they're on a 4-win game streak. You just in the way, and anybody at this point is in the way. And it's just a matter of, are they going to be able to maintain that, continue that, through the All-Star break? Because remember, that's the key, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're already starting to roll going into the All-Star break, I mean, just help us. help us coming out of it. So with the number 1 seed right now, Oklahoma City Thunder, it's just, they looking dangerous. They looking legit. They looking dangerous. They look like they're rolling already. The Thunder rolls.
Any team can surpass them in the West. Who would that be if there was such a team?
Surpass them? If there's any team that could actually surpass them. But let me answer your question, and then let me possibly the Nuggets. Why would they? I mean, I guess I'm modifying your question anyway. You're asking who could surpass them. Then I'm almost like, well, who would? You know what I'm saying? Who would go through that effort? You know what I mean? To actually try to claim the number 1 seed. And the only teams I can see that would, kind of have the desire or the audacity even to attempt to do that would be the Memphis Grizzlies.
The Memphis Grizzlies. Well, what makes them more susceptible to pass them? What makes them that capable of doing that?
I would feel because they don't know any better and they wouldn't care. If you knew better, you would not necessarily like we say the whatever we call it, the maintenance with guys coming in and out. That this could be a team that could grind up in the wins, claim the number 1 seed, but only to do so temporarily. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like they wouldn't know any better than the.
But then it makes sense. But that's the same thought process people would have about the Thunder because they don't know any better because they're a young squad and supposedly not supposed to be this good at this young of an age as far as these players go. It's just shocking, you know what I mean? But at the same time, they have a great coach.
Yeah, but the great coach, right? And the team, for the most part, pretty much all being held together, right? And again, the high expectations, that fuel, right? That fuel they have and the way their season ended last year, that's something that can really drive you through the season and well into the playoffs. Is that high expectations that you get that bad taste in your mouth. You went home bitter, not sitting well with you, not able to sleep well all summer. That's the kind of things that can really drive and push through. Yeah, they don't know any better, but they have the fuel and the motivation to not only maintain number 1, but actually then turn around and actually do something with it further into the playoffs. Yes, sir.
Gotcha. So my take on it is I think looking at the Rockets, they may be the one that can take out the Thunder because they're sitting, again, number 2 in the Western Conference. But the Mavs, if they get healthy enough and this team continues to gel, like I said, been saying all season, we'll see what they look like mid-season after the All-Star break. If they're playing better or if they maybe get some trades. And I don't know. It's been a rumor out there that they're dangling Gafford, but why would you dangle Gafford? I mean, he's a good trade piece, but it's you don't want to disturb what the chemistry has been built with this team. And I don't know. I don't think they'll trade him, but I think they'll have to get rid of some pieces to really upgrade, because where they're having problems, in my opinion, is in the front court where the guards are, and they need somebody maybe like a Scottie Pippen type person. You look at Quentin Grimes when he comes off the bench, he does play very well, but you still have to have somebody else to contribute either as a starter. I mean, because I'm still kind of wondering what PJ we're gonna get some nights. Some nights he's like, hey, it's certain teams he played very well against, and one of those teams is Oklahoma. For whatever reason, he puts it on Oklahoma. I don't think a lot of them can guard him because he's a good player. But we need him to do that to every team, not just select teams. You got to be PJ against Oklahoma versus every team. You know what I mean? Yes. And looking at the Rockets, man, the Rockets, they're so young, and that coach Ime Udoka has actually got these boys playing like, hey, we need to be here. We're second for a reason. And I really like what he's doing. Now, the Grizzlies, to me, is just somewhat of an illusion. I don't know if they'll continue to be on that pace. So because what I remember hearing John Morant saying is that he's trying not to go into the hole as much because he doesn't want to be injured. And I understand that, you know what I mean? But, that type of play is where got you where you are now. So if you kind of change it up at this point in the season, it might not be beneficial because you're in third place now. Then looking at the Nuggets is another anomaly. You don't know what you're really getting. You know what you're getting out of Jokic, rather. But everybody else, you don't really know what you're getting because sometimes they play very well, sometimes they don't. I mean, I don't know if they're going to continue to be on that road to getting back to the championship, even though they won it some years ago. It's going to be hard to get there. The Clippers, I don't really have faith in that team. Not saying that they're a bad team. Not saying that. I'm saying that their pieces, they work, I guess, sporadically. You know what I mean? It's not a continuous working machine, if you get my drift. That machine works when it wants to. And the heart of that machine, we already know, is James Harden. So if he's not playing to his potential every game, which I'm sure he can, but it's like something is not right as far as his I want to say his wantingness to really play the best he can all the time. He's just playing. You know how you have a person that knows they're good and they just play just normal, but don't give more than what they should. And I think that's what's going on with James Harden. And the Lakers, lastly, I want to talk about them. What can they do to get better? Yeah, even though LeBron is still there, I don't know if they'll make it to the championship. They're just right now selling tickets, in my opinion, because LeBron is a draw, AD is a draw, and then you have Connect. Dalton Connect has been balling out of control, but that's pretty much all you really have with that squad. And LA is a good team. They Showtime basically, but I'm thinking they're not going to really hold on to that sixth spot that they are currently in. If they hold on, I'd be surprised. I'm not knocking them for where they at now. They fought to get where they are, but at the end of the day, to me, they are just selling tickets, and that's probably what's going to be the downfall of that team, because they're not saying that they're not trying. I can't say what their mindset, but just on the outside looking in, it looks like y'all just selling tickets, man. So that's my take on the West, man. And I hopefully the Mavs get back up to at least the number 3 spots, or they were some weeks ago. But the Thunder may just take it this year as far as the West. And
I expect them to.
Yeah, and I think Houston will probably the ones that's going to be facing off in the Western Conference Finals. It depends on how the brackets fall, but that's what I'm looking at as far as the Western Conference go.
And Big Mike, really expect those 2 through 6 seeds to really be shaken up after the All-Star break. You know,
Nah, facts.
to be shaken up quite a bit. Like I don't really have, like you said, great faith in the Grizzlies, and the Nuggets can make a shift and move. As they're at different times when they're gelling, depending on their health.
Mm-hmm.
Expect them to stay in the in the top 4. And then with the Clippers, like you said, Clippers fans are on a roller coaster ride. It's been, I know stay on a 3-game win streak, but they could just easily go on a 3-game skid. They can look like they're ready for a chip, and then look like, okay, why we can't get it together with these Hall of Famers? I mean, it just is what it is. And then the Lakers, the Lakers franchise, they've had times like this where they have legendary players, and they're when players, even with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, there'd be years he might be hurt or he might not necessarily be the healthiest, and it's like, hey, we've got so many chips, we good, we enjoying the game. You know what I'm saying? We can enjoy sports entertainment. We're good until we have a year where our legends are a little bit healthier and we can make a push. And if you've been a Laker fan long enough, you've seen that happen over and over again, even with Kobe. You kind of up and down a little bit. You might have an off year, but it's still fun and entertaining, even though your star legend is not quite 100% or not quite well, or matchups, right? With players moving around, matchups don't really go in your favor, and things of that nature. But you can never count them out. They can look horrible, and then and don't hold on to that the next year. And you're like, oh, hey, where does this team come from? No, it's just, what I'm saying? We're human beings. There's a, basketball is very organic. There's a flow and eve to it, And then the same thing with the Mavericks. It's like a lot going on with injuries. Injuries happen, and to our stars, to our living legends. And like I said, last time we met up was a perfect opportunity for your bench to get their minutes. Stretch your bench out. Stretch everybody out. Even when you think you know what you got, stretch it out. Give them an opportunity. Demand more of them and see if they can deliver it for you, even if it's just a little bit something you learn different about your bench. Because it takes the others. You got to have your stars, but it takes the others to really get you over the hump and get you into the chip. To return to the finals, it's going to take others. It's going to take the bench, and we have to have leadership on the bench. I think that's part of our problem. In the old days, referring to our last championship, we had Jason Terry could be a starter on our team or any other team, right? But he was able to settle into his role in leading the bench, coming off the bench and giving us a boost, right? And being leadership for the second team players. And I think that's something I'm looking for. Not only who's going to respond well with their performance on the court, who's going to provide that leadership for the bench, for the secondary players. Where it's like, know your role, and when you literally get your opportunity, let me show you, let me demonstrate for you what we supposed to do, what this looks like. Know your role, accept your role, and perform. And like whether it's Grimes, PJ Washington, this and that, I'm in a good place. Oh, yeah, I look horrible. Why are you so happy and smiling? I'm like, wait and see. Wait and see. And I just think this is what it takes. You just can't doing the same old thing. Everybody's growing, everybody's changing up, and expect the same results. You got to keep pushing. You got to stretch your bitch, whatever you got to do, right? And get healthy and be rolling after the All-Star break. So I expect the Mavs to be coming up and push to be one of the teams that's shaking things up, 2 through 6.
Thanks. And I like the fact that you mentioned the bench, and on the benches are a lot of young players. And speaking of young players, we're going to shift over to one of my favorite teams locally, and they've been hooping out of control. And then I know you probably don't watch a lot of NCAA basketball, but have you been checking out what's been going on with the SMU, Southern Methodist University Mustangs men's basketball team?
For me, it's like SMU is a school that I can easily get to, right? SMU is one of the first campuses I took my son to go tour.
Nice.
So what we would do, we love basketball, right? So I get us to a basketball game. We'd be on campus and then have a tour arranged, right? for them to see the engineering and science buildings, have a little tour, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to SMU, went to a basketball game, did a tour of the engineering building, this and that, and then we finished on the track. And he ran one lap around the track, and then we left. So when it comes to, I come from a college town, Louisville, Kentucky, and so whether it's SMU in general, I try to follow. And then SMU football this year has been they are committed. You know what I'm saying? And with football free agency, with college free agency and the portal, SMU put on a shine. So to see, so to follow the SMU men's and women's, I know I'm stretching myself thin. I watch a lot of basketball. I follow a lot of highlights, and I'm loving it. And actually, I'm excited to even get my son and I to a SMU game. So I'm very appreciative of SMU getting, coming out of its cloud, which had nothing to do with the basketball, organization, but the stigma. I'm glad SMU is finally, after all these decades, is coming out of the stigma and getting the shine, and we can actually go to a college game in Dallas. We don't have to leave the city limits,
Right.
To see good basketball or good sports in period for college sports. We don't have to leave the city limits. We don't have to leave Dallas County, to catch a good game.
Not facts. Overall, their record is 13-4 in the Atlantic Coast Conference. And the conference in general, they're 4-2, and they've been having some really good, notable games. They beat Virginia twice this year, and Virginia is in their conference, and it's not an easy team to beat because Virginia always bringing it, but they lost to some very good teams. Particularly, they recently lost to University of North Carolina, and it was not even a close game. That kind of shows you where they are, and they also lost to Duke, and they got really beat down by Duke by 27, which is it's expected because this team for SMU is pretty much young. The coach is pretty much new, and they're still getting better. They're getting better as we go. And
then ranked number 3,
Right. Yeah. Duke was ranked number 3 currently. And SMU, they got some good wins under their belt. Like I said, they played beat Virginia twice, and they played Georgia Tech, and they beat Georgia Tech by 22. And that's crazy to say that because these are pretty good, decent teams that have great coaching. Boston College is one. They beat Boston College by, it looks like, 26. So they really playing better as a squad. I'm really surprised.
Yep. LSU always has great athletes. So,
right, and their squad, man, they have a lot of local kids, man, to be exact, that's playing on that team. One of the kids is actually somebody that my wife friend, it's her son. His name is Chance Prigger. He's a pretty good player. He's a forward on that team. Chance, yeah, he can hoop, and he's been over our house maybe once or twice, but he's a great kid. He's playing really good, and I'm wishing him the best of luck, man. And SMU, it's bringing back Dallas basketball for college in general because we haven't had a great basketball squad as far as college goes in a long time. And TCU's been hooping like a mug, but that's Fort Worth. So what about Dallas? So Dallas has to make a stand somewhere, you know what I mean? And SMU is trying to stake their name. Their football squad this year got to a bowl game, and they played very well. But now the basketball squad, what are you going to do are you going to get into the bracket? You know what I mean? Are you going to make the March Madness? I think they can. What they're looking like now, their center is pretty good. Their guards playing very good, and they have a lot of, like I said, local kids that's playing very well. That transfer, Kenyon Ambrose Hilton, he's from Alabama, so he's really giving the team a lot. So it's a lot of good things coming out of SMU as far as basketball wise. All they got to do is continue to play, and they do have a couple of tougher games coming up, but I don't think these games going to really be as hard as they think, because their next game, it looks like they're playing SMU, going to play Miami, Florida.
And Big Mike.
And Big Mike.
I mean, like we encourage folks, support your local schools.
Thanks.
High school, you could have high-ranked players at your, and especially in North Texas and Dallas, at your high schools, and they playing against other teams with higher ranked players who where do they go? Off to college and then off into the NBA. And you can say, oh, I saw them play in high school or I saw them play in college, right? Like you said, you've gotten no chance. You never know where their career, where their life is going to take them,
Thanks.
Especially with SMU being in the ACC, right? That's the basketball conference. You know what I'm saying? They own college basketball. So, even, if you check the schedule, I mean, they play Duke at home. Why wouldn't you want to go? Why wouldn't you want to see that? Right.
Right.
I mean, so some of these, legendary college basketball teams are going to be coming to town. Wherever you are, you better check your, your high school, check your local colleges, take a look at their schedules, and you could find yourself watching, future NBA players, regardless of situation, of your school status. And though, SMU is doing very well, but like I said, when they weren't doing it very well, we still had an amazing time, and seeing the campus, beautiful campus. You've got George W. Bush's Presidential Library at SMU.
Right.
You got so many reasons to come check out SMU, college sports, check out the campus, check out the Presidential Library, whether you're in Dallas or wherever you are, get to know, your local college and their conference and their program. You never know what's going to happen.
Thanks. And before we wrap up on this, their schedule, it looks to be a pretty favorable schedule. If they just play the way they're supposed to play, and the coaching has been amazing, they could basically, they could finish above 500 in this schedule. I mean, they'll make the tournament if they continue to play the way they've been playing. So they don't have a lot of hard teams to play against now. All the harder ones have gone. I think the hardest one that they may have to face off against is probably Clemson. It depends on what Clemson brings. And you can look at Florida State's not too bad of a basketball squad. And again, the team they're going to face off again tomorrow will be Miami, Florida. So those are two. And California. That's another team that they're going to be playing. So those four teams might give them a little bit of a problem, but I don't see a reason they couldn't beat them teams. But I'm glad that SMU is doing what they're doing, and they got my support. They got Swish for Real support. Yeah. And I want to go. Definitely, if y'all see this video, coach or athletic director, send us some tickets and we'll come and support y'all full-fledged. We'll talk about it on the podcast, and we'll give every athlete a major shout out, man. For real.
For real, I'm trying to be there Tuesday. My Louisville Cardinals will be in town. So you never know. My Louisville Cardinals will be in town on Tuesday. So as long as it's a good day, my health holds up, I'll be there on Tuesday, right? I'll be in Cardinal colors.
Dang.
But really, it'll be a win-win for me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm definitely an SMU supporter. I know, alumni from SMU. My man Boyne Wright, Daniel Jacobs, teammate Mavs Maniacs, is a graduate alumni from SMU. He was actually one to hook us up with the tickets for me to take my son to the game on that day of our tour of SMU. So, but I'm really trying. I'm really everything I can. I'm going to rest up and be there Tuesday, baby.
Thanks. I know we SMU played California coming up, but there's a player that actually went to California that's actually coaching the Dallas Mavericks now. And he's been really not too bad as far as a coach wise. What are your thoughts on what Jason Kidd is doing with the Mavs? Can he get them back to the championship this year? Or what does he need to do to improve himself as a coach or get this team back on a winning track despite their injuries?
Let me temper my fandom because, I like to just, I'm not trying to, dismiss myself, but, I'm honest, I'm transparent, but if Jason Kidd could have laced up his shoes, we'd at least got to game 7 of the finals. But he can't. He cannot lace up his shoes and get back out there. his time is over, right? You know, but it fuels him. It fuels him, right, to be even a better coach. You understand? And so I think everything we went through, if nothing else, leveled up Jason Kidd's how do I want to say it? His why and his aptitude, everything, the whole season last year, I think Jason Kidd benefited the most. Even more than Luka, even more than Kyrie, our star players. Right? You had to go down towards the end of the bench. The players we newly traded for and Lively. You probably go to Lively, right? For the person in the whole staff, or the player, basketball or operations that benefited most from us going to the finals, right? But number one, I would say with Jason Kidd as a coach. So for me, I'm fully confident that he's leveling up, that he's prepared, right? But the players got to execute, and even with this stretching of the bench, I trust. I was hoping for it, and then bam, next thing I know, there it is. Because I trust he knows the guys, and I believe he's pushing buttons, and I see him stretching the bench, and I'm like, and I'm happy. So not that because he's doing what I want him to do, but because I know basketball, seen a lot of basketball. I know our team. I know the Mavericks, right? And I'm like, this is exactly what we needed. Because in the finals, we did too much what we call watching TV. Younger guys or unexperienced guys just waiting on Luka or Kyrie to make something happen. No, you have to make something happen. You have to give opportunity to them for them to dish the ball or get rid of the ball. You know what I'm saying? You have to be an X factor when you come out there, right? And so I believe in Jason Kidd and how to manage and help manage. When our star legends come back, they never come back 100%. 80%, our star legends are better than most of the league, right? So, and I trust in Kidd in managing that, right? But also trusting him on continue to exercise and stretch our bench and based on the matchups and getting better on the timing, right? Like I was at the game Sunday, we were jumped ahead of the Nuggets, but then we couldn't close.
Right? Facts. And that's been our issue lately. Just can't close games.
But part of him knowing exactly what needs to be done, but also he's wise enough and creative enough to experiment. And when should you be doing it? The time to do that is now. So I'm smiling. Yeah, we had the lead, we didn't close it, but it's the Nuggets. You know what I'm saying? And then playing the back-to-back, were you really expecting us to, you know what I'm saying? 2 games in a row for us to have their number? No. You know what I'm saying? But I saw that and I'm like, the time to do that is now. Not when you're trying to, rolling through. This is when you experiment, you start digging in, you're seeing what guys' limits are, you give them opportunity to show you more. And I see Jason Kidd, he's giving me every bit of reason to trust and believe in his capabilities and that he's the right man for the job. And yes, I'm happy he's here.
Nice way to put it. My take on it is that, yeah, I do believe that since he got us to the championship last year, even though we didn't win it, it was just the fact that, again, the team was basically put together in midseason. You know what I mean? There are some players that came that really helped us get to where we needed to be. And now we tried to do the opposite, get these new players in the beginning of the season so we can see how they gel. But what happened? Injuries started biting us in the butt, and it's one of those things where you can't predict injuries. No one can predict injuries. That can be a factor of why you can't win games. I mean, it can be, but at the end of the day, every player out there is a professional, and like you stated, you have to want to bring your A game every time. You want to be that X factor. And looking at his record as a Mavs since he's been coaching the Mavs, Jason Kidd has a winning record. He is 162 and with 124 losses, 162 wins with 124 losses. And not a lot of coaches can say they've done that before. You know what I mean? you sneeze at that? You know what I mean? That's, one of my catchphrases. You can't sneeze at that. So he's actually been a great coach, man. He has a winning record. Even when he was in Jersey, he had a nice record. Only problem I would say with Jason Kidd is that he's too much of a player's coach. You know what I mean? You want somebody more like, so you think about Pat Riley, you think about Greg Popovich, and Phil Jackson. I mean, those guys were somewhat player coaches, but at the end of the day, they were more X's and O's. They wanted to execute everything. You know what I mean? Everything had to be executed perfectly, offensively and defensively, have a balance. And I think Jason Kidd is working his way there. The way he staffed the coaches around him, he got some great, talented coaches around him. He may have to probably cut one or two loose and get a better coaching staff with them to even make them grow better. And I think if he does that, then yeah, we can definitely blossom. I think maybe another couple of years he'll be here, and I think one out of those years we may end up with a championship, because he's destined to win the championship, in my opinion, because he doesn't take him as a coach that doesn't know what he's doing, because if that be the case, he wouldn't have got to where he was last year. 2024 would have been a wash, because you wouldn't have been able to get past Minnesota, for instance. But you beat the number one team in the West last year,
yes.
Oklahoma KC. But will you be able to do that again? We don't know. It depends, because the West again is the West is stacked every year. Every year is stacked. There's always going to be some great players, great teams. It's just it's hard to get through the West. I mean, if you look at the West,
it's a grind. There's no laying up. There's no easing up.
Facts. And if you look at compared to the East, we have way more teams with 20 win records than the East does. And what does that tell you? It's just the West plays harder. They're going to feast on the East for the most part. The only team that's been feasting on the West in the East is Cleveland. You know what I mean? Cleveland's been playing out of control. But Dallas, if they're healthy and they're playing with every player to their capabilities, I think they can pretty much make Kidd a coach of the year if they continue to gel, get better. If we get to the midseason, and if we don't make any major trades and keep the team as a whole, because one thing I hate when coaches do is that you have trying to build chemistry. And when you trade a player that's part of the starting rotation, that kind of kills chemistry. And then you have to start that chemistry all over again with the new player. And you got to make sure that you get them where their shots where they like their shots, and they all got to be one cohesive unit when it comes to defense. So I think being the coach for the Dallas Mavericks was the best thing for Jason Kidd, because that's the team that drafted him. He played very well many years for us when he was here the first time, got away, and then came back and won a championship. So it's
you know what I'm saying? So
right. So he's destined
to
win a championship. So in my opinion, I think he's a great coach, and I just want to see him just get that trophy, hold it up, and say we did it. Yeah. Even though Cuban is no longer my majority owner, he's still getting an opportunity to lift that trophy one more time.
And Big Mike, I mean, but look at it this way. You can say this or that about Kyrie, but aside from the 1 year lull, that really is what it took. Kidd is making Kyrie work. Mm-hmm. How come other coaches and organizations, struggle back and forth with it, right? We're making it work with Kyrie, right? And then last year, even with the timing, we had that influx of talent, right? But instead of just the timing of it, instead of fumbling with it, Kidd was cooking. You know what I'm saying? Kidd was cooking. And even with the bad timing and not enough time, he was cooking and cooked it all the way to the finals. That's our guy. That's our guy. You know what I'm saying? We're blessed. That's our guy.
Well, talk about being blessed. Do you think the Miami Heat is blessed with the situation with Jimmy Butler?
I don't know. I don't. Okay. If not Jimmy Butler, then who else? Who else was the Heat gonna get to put the basketball operations on their shoulder and get them to a finals and so forth? Who else? Who else is on the landscape? Because when it went down, I was like, oh, how they manage that? I was like, how they get that done? I'm thinking, oh, Pat Riley still working his magic somehow. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I'm like, you know, mentality wise, you know, culture wise, I'm like, that's a fit. But how did something become unfit that was such a fit? You wanted him, and this is the guy you needed. He got you to the finals. What's the problem? What's the problem? Because, you know, to get over the hump, you got there to get over the hump, just like where the Mavericks are. Okay, we finally made it there. How do we get over the hump and keep it together? It's on Jimmy Butler. Is Jimmy Butler a cancer somehow? How do you get there? You culturally a fit. Your mentality is a fit, right? You know, with Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra. What's the problem now? You know, it's easy to point your, you know, win or loss, so you point at Jimmy Butler. But I just feel like Jimmy's Jimmy. I'm a Jimmy Buckets fan. I just feel like Jimmy's Jimmy. Is he a cancer? No. Has he become a cancer? No. So what's going on with Jimmy? You got to look around him. What's going on around him? You know, and I know I'm not. I know I mentioned a lot organizationally, but I don't do that easily. And then I do that at risk to relationships that I, you know, to relationships I have with organizations in the NBA. But in this situation, I call a spade a spade. It's easy to look at Jimmy and say what's going on with Jimmy, but I'll be like, nah, look at what's going on around him. Okay?
Nah, facts. My take on it is that they had to suspend him for some reason. What happened with the suspension? What did he say? What did he do? What action did he take to warrant the team to suspend you for 7 games? He's coming back the next game. He's back on the court, but it was had to be a disconnect between him and Pat Riley. Whatever's going on between the two of them, the who has the most authority right now? It's Pat Riley. Pat Riley doesn't care about an individual player in that instance. You know what I mean? What most important to him is 1, the franchise, and 2, the team. If those 2 things are working well, then as you stated before, it'll be easy to get to a championship because you got everything in place to do that. And they not drafted him, but they traded for him, signed him to a great contract, knowing that he's going to be there for a little bit of time. And they tried to do everything they can to please this man. I'm not quite sure what Jimmy may have said to warrant a 7-game suspension. That's what my question is. What was said? What was done? What was the action that took place to make Pat Riley, a man who's stern on his word, when he says he want to do something, he's going to do it? What took place? Because I'm not saying that Jimmy's a bad guy. I don't know. I don't know him personally. All I know is what I see from the outside looking in. And all I know is that when you look at the teams he was on in the past, there was a little bit of a turmoil when it comes to Jimmy Butler. I think, in my opinion, he would have flourished if he would have stayed in Chicago. That's where he really liked to be because that's the team that drafted him, basically. But when you move him around, the times that they moved him around, it was one of those things like, you know how if you got to move, like, I don't know what the NBA players like, but I can understand if you getting traded, you got to sell your house, sell your belongings, move your cars, move your wife, move some of your belongings. It's just so much. Yeah. And if you're doing that every 2 or 3 years, what does that say about you as a player? That means teams don't really want that particular player playing for them or paying you the amount of money that you think you're worth. Even though he's making an exorbitant amount of money, which I ain't tripping, you make your bread the way you make your bread. But it says a lot when you being traded that many times. What is that saying about the person in general? I don't know him. I mean, he seemed like a fairly calm person to me, but behind the doors, what is he doing? You know what I mean? And it's showing the way you were being traded from point A to point B. You know what I mean? And then you can you can tell like what happened in Minnesota. It was not that good of a fit for him. Right. So and he got his way out of there.
We know Miami has been a quality organization, but again, it's a 2-way street. You know, the facts are the facts, moving around. But I'm like, but no knock against the Bulls because they're, at this point they're a historic franchise. But what have they done lately? again, more looking at player development, and then and even with Derrick Rose, I feel like there was a lot of mismanagement with his health. So in my eyes, even Chicago Bulls, I got kind of a faded, historic franchise, but what have you done lately is kind of faded. And I wouldn't say jaded, but faded. It's like, yeah, player development, but it's kind of a place that you go through, enjoy the historic franchise and the great fan base, but you're gonna need to move on. You need to move on.
I do wonder if
So I
they
feel
will.
you, and then Miami's historic, is a solid organization, but still at this point, I'm just kind of like, everybody should be happy.
Yeah, and I wonder, will they trade him before the midseason or at midseason, and then what do they do after that? And the only team I would think that probably would take Jimmy Butler at this point and have a serviceable piece to get back would probably be back with Minnesota. They can swap him for what's the kid name? They just got it from New York. They can swap him for him.
Okay.
So that'll be a good. Yeah, and I know he doesn't want to do that, but
because if I'm Miami, he's got to leave the East.
Yeah, I would send him to the West.
He cannot stay in the East, baby.
Nah,
but I feel like from the mental health crisis is real.
Yeah,
that's dealing with Jimmy Butler and whatever staff or executives that are button heads, because there's a disconnect there. Something. All it takes is to lose a friend and then make an enemy, and then things can turn on its head, right?
Thanks.
Because the whole organization could be like, "What's going on? We love Jimmy. This should be working. Like we're talking about it." But all it takes is one wrong person in the organization to have beef, and then you not work it out because you have to be right. You have to sit down with an arbitrator, and for real, mental health crisis is real. I would suggest the arbitrator be, a sports psychologist and hash it out, but, put your big britches on and move forward with this business. Life's about relationships, fix a relationship and keep moving forward in business. Because again, Chicago, what other options do you got? With the way your culture is set up, what other big time baller is going to actually fit into your culture with that work ethic and that mentality? Who?
Facts. Man, and that was our last topic of the day, man. We covered a lot of stuff in a good amount of time, and again, I just want to see where Jimmy goes. But again, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Wild Dog, tell the people where they can find you at on these internet streets, man, and give them your handles on the social media tip.
Hey, I'm a good dog, so I'll be doing too much. You can find me on YouTube at Wild Dog 357. Again, that's on YouTube at Wild WILD DOGG 357, baby.
Absolutely, and always swish for real. Swish for real. Yes, sir. And me, you can find me on Twitter X, Mikkel MICKL Lampkin, and then Poet. And you can also find me here on Swish for Real as well. And we just be kicking it, trying to make you people entertained, get you guys out of your seats and say, hey, I remember that. We try to do it, man. Try to keep it going. And if you want, just like and subscribe, share the videos, send it out to as many people as you can. If you see something, hey, you can clip it, share it with other people, and let them know that Swish for Real is in the building, baby. So, guys, have a great weekend. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Wild Dog, we are out. Swish for Real, man. Hey, take it easy, man. Peace.